Didn't see that one coming, huh?
Didn't see it coming. All right. In our last video, we talked about the kind of like the other allies. So we talked about like the Voicemen at Arms and the Inquisitorial Henchmen. And we talked about some of the Inquisitors and things that Imperial players can kind of like jam into their lists to like shore up the little things that maybe they need a little bit more of.
Yeah, or add something that's unique that they can't get.
Exactly. Eversor Assassin. Okay, our next one, the Eversor Assassin. So this guy is awesome. Not only is he way faster than the other ones, he may as well be wearing a jump pack. He moves like 9 inches.
I already like this guy the best. Because I'm seeing he's got Scout 9
Yeah.
with Movement 9.
It's hilarious.
So he's got an 18-inch move right out the gate.
Yeah.
And I know what he's doing. He's popping combat drugs and going hard.
That's all it is. That's all it is. It's awesome. So I love this model. Like he's like jumping off the side of this pipe. And he's got like this big claw and he's got his fun pistol. And his like his skull is like smiling, this like wicked smile.
Yeah, he's a very cool looking model.
Very awesome model. And you know, he's actually just like hilarious when he gets into combat because he's like one of the only things in the game that I know of that can sustain hits 3. And I just find that hilarious.
Oh, wow.
We'll read this together. Friends on. So in your command phase, select one of the effects to apply until the start of your next command phase. Adrenal Surge. The model is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in turn which it advanced. Phenomenal.
Crazy good.
Predatory Focus. The model's weapon have the precision ability. So you can precision out guys.
Love it.
Or Killing Rampage. This model's weapons have the sustained hits 3 ability, which is nuts. And then once per battle, with its Sentinel array, you can target the model with the Fire Overwatch or Heroic Intervention strat for 0 CP, and you can do so even if you've already used that strat.
I like this guy a lot.
Yeah,
He's
I
just
like
a
him.
little missile. He's just a meat missile. That's
Yeah,
all
that's
he
all
is.
he
You
is.
just throw him in there and have him shred.
Yeah, it's awesome. All he does is yell really loud and run at your opponent, and it's great.
And anti-infantry 3 is
Hilarious.
it's really strong.
Yeah.
It does
that's the
great
pistol.
against like custodes.
Oh, yeah, phenomenal.
It does great against like orcs, toughness 5, right? He's strength 5, so he would still be winning on 3s.
Yep. He's
Any
really good at killing
Terminator
infantry,
unit.
Yeah, he's really good at killing infantry. So he has a pistol, and he also has like a power sword and neuro gauntlet combo, both of which have got anti-infantry 3 up. So he's laser focused on killing infantry.
Yes.
And you really want him in combat because he's got 6 attacks. They all hit on 2s. Strength 5, AP -2, 2 damage. It's great. And like you said, it's great against like things like custodes where they've got like toughness 6.
And he has deadly demise D3.
Yeah.
Because he just
explodes.
overheats and blows up.
Explodes. It's hilarious. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's got a 4-up invul save, which is also silly. He's a lone op, so if hypothetically, you can't get him into combat right away, you can keep him outside the 12. No one can shoot him. Mm-hmm. And, he's good for a couple of different things. I like him.
I like him in a very combat-heavy list.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The downside, I think, is that, like, him only having the 4-up invul and having
four wounds.
4 wounds, and he is also only toughness 4. It means that if he doesn't go into that Orc Boy squad and shred the whole thing, where this guy lives best is fighting like infantry units that can't really fight him back, right? So like a squad of guardsmen, for example.
Yeah.
Right? A squad of guardsmen or a squad of guardians or a squad of, even like Dire Avengers, even though they're slightly better at combat, they would struggle immensely against a unit like this, or even a squad of like just kind of more basic style Space Marines, things like Intercessors and Hellblasters and like the troop units. It's great at slaying out troop units, or like you could give it the precision it can make a run at something and try and just like melee down some character.
Absolutely.
And then just be pummeled to death and then explode.
Yeah, but his big fear is Overwatch. So what that means is he has to play in the terrain properly.
Yes.
He has to make his 9-inch move to behind a wall where your opponent can't see him, and then make a charge out of that wall to try to get into combat.
He really has to.
Because if he's anywhere out in the open trying to make a charge and your opponent has half decent guns, they could take him out before he makes it there, and then he's a complete loss. But other than that, I love the way this guy looks. He's hilarious. What a little blender on wheels.
And he also lives in that 80-point range too.
Which is great.
It's not a lot, but it's enough. And if your opponent's not quite ready for that, it's really funny. He's a really great back line disruptor. So let's say you put him into strategic reserves, then you were rapid ingress him in a turn, and then he bombs out of something advance and charges on average that would be 12 inches or 13-inch advance and charge, right?
Yep.
So a hilarious number if you just
13-inch. He's probably rocking a 12-inch advance and then.
Yeah,
7
or
on the
13,
chart. So he's going 19 inches probably.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
With an advance and charge, which is great.
Hilarious. So you could play him like that, and I think that would be great. And then your opponent has to go no, I have to go and get this stupid thing. And you actually do have to go and get him because you have to be within 12 to shoot him, right?
Yeah, so a way that you could use him to dig out characters is exactly that, right? Rapid ingress, really far away.
Yeah.
Suspiciously far away from your opponent's unit. They're done moving. They can't move anymore. And then you either advance and charge, or if you're in a good enough cover, just move your 9 and go for killing rampage and get sustained D3.
Hilarious.
Or go for the precision or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. He's another great way to deal with characters that you necessarily are having a problem with.
Yeah, totally. And the big one. So this is the one that you see in pretty much all the competitive lists, the Calidus Assassin. So this is actually probably my favorite model of the range of new assassins. I really love the big braid of hair and their kind of the superhero landing that she's doing right now.
Dancer's pose that she's in.
It's really awesome. I really love this model's Reign of Confusion ability because once per battle, you can basically make one of your opponent's strats cost an extra one.
Have they errated it so you can't do that twice to the same thing? Let's say I'm playing Bjorn, who has that. The ability to increase my opponent's stratagem. And then I have her as well. Could I go, okay, now your Armor of Contempt costs 3?
I think so. You know what? I'm not 100% sure because I don't have the facts in front of me. Down in the comments section, if you know the answer to Ian's question, just toss it down there, and then we can just kind of go into that talk together. I'm sure we'll look it up later, but we'd love to hear what you think. I'm pretty sure you can. I think you can.
Let's say that's not the case. You could still neuter 2 of your opponent's best stratagems.
Yeah, play it by be cautious about the ruling, but
her doing it to Armor Contempt, and then Bjorn doing it to Storm of Fire or something.
Yeah.
And you go, holy.
Now, with that being said, I do believe it was a fact that instead of it being any strat, it was battle tactic strats. So but Armor of Contempt's a battle tactic strat.
Okay.
And it's always Armor of Contempt. Every time someone does it, it's always Armor of Contempt.
Yeah.
And it just considering that in a Space Marine list, I use Armor of Contempt every single turn.
Yeah, almost every turn. Yeah.
Almost every turn I use it because you need it.
Sometimes twice a turn.
Sometimes twice a turn, right? And because you need it.
Yeah.
And she really craps on that.
Yeah, and as demon player, the up and down stratagem.
Yeah.
She goes, no, that costs 2 now, and you go, well,
I don't really want to do it now.
Yeah, that hurts. No, and you still you have to do it.
You have to do it.
I feel like you have to do it. Now you just have to pay out the nose for it, which is not as nice.
Yeah, and the thing with this, and I know we're going to talk about her uppy downy thing, the polymorphine ability, in just a second. We will get there. But the thing with the stratagem game that she kind of plays is that, and one of the reasons I like her so much, especially when you need this kind of effect in your army, is that she can affect the game. Unlike the other ones where she can be out of line of sight entirely. Mm-hmm. She doesn't need to be close to your enemy's models. She can affect the game from this corner of the table.
Yeah.
And you're all the way over there doing your own things. And I'm like, more for your strats. Yeah. oh, I'm going to pick her up and deep strike her over here, another place you can't shoot, right? And so that, I think, is what makes her so popular. So the polymorphing ability gives her the ability to, like, basically turn after turn at the end of your opponent's fight phase, she goes up into reserves, and then she can deep strike back down.
Yes.
And that uppy downy is what people call it.
That's what we're calling it, because we're all grown humans.
We're all grown-ups.
Yeah.
So whenever she uppy downies,
Yeah.
she can affect the game in, like, so many very practical ways. She helps you do all of your secondaries. She helps you with zoning if you need that. She helps you, just be places that your army won't necessarily be inherently good at being at.
Especially turn 4 and 5 is where she shines extra bright. Deep strike, fight first, infiltrators a lot. It's fight first is actually pretty nasty too.
This tasty. Yeah. And the great thing about her attacks here is that she does have lethal hits, which are great. She has precision with her power sword and her, like, poison blades and stuff like that, which is awesome. Additionally, she's got, like, a little, like, flamer pistol, and the flamer pistol's got an anti-infantry 2-up.
Neural shredder.
The neural shredder. And it's AP2, which is sweet.
Yeah, and her face sword and poison blades are AP4,
awesome,
which you don't see a lot of in the game.
Especially not in, like, in the Imperium data sheets. AP4 is basically just melta weapons. Like, this is AP4 on a blade is, like, pretty intense. And it's, of course, got lethal hits and precision, which is great. So reading through her rules, like, she's the most expensive at 90 points. And she is so worth it.
Yeah, she's worth it because she's the one you can take where you're not trying to kill infantry.
Yep.
You're not up against psychers.
Yep.
You're not going to have your opponent feel bad about characters.
No.
Or you're not going to have to worry about line of sight.
Yeah.
She can literally just be anywhere on the battlefield,
doing
and
whatever.
You wait for that stratagem that you know they're going to be using all game. You make it cost 2.
Yeah.
And then she's bouncing all around the battlefield, scoring your objectives. It's quite clear why she's the best.
Yeah.
And definitely turn 4, turn 5, the neural shredder, shooting the neural shredder.
Hilarious.
Or deep striking her in a spot where you know she's going to be able to charge and get off with her face blades and the next turn. I can see why she's quite clearly far and above the best. She doesn't have to do anything, and she's already effective.
Yeah, which is awesome. So, when you're playing, and this is the one that you always see. She is the one that no matter what will be effective no matter what you play against. Mm-hmm. So it is clear why she's the best. And now if you're playing against her, because let's talk a little bit about what you do against this, because you will see this often. Mm-hmm. Let's say you come up against an opponent who's running one of these. I find that the times when she dies, it's in those little moments where your opponent gets a little bit too cavalier with her placement, because ultimately, because she's lone operative and because she can uppy downy all the time, she should be basically always safe, right? However, every so often, and I've been guilty of this too, opponents will be like, oh, I can get the neural shredder in range. Oh, I might be able to pull off a charge. Yes, the blade is great. Sure. But you're still not going to kill lots with her.
Yeah, her being safe is more important than that.
Yeah, you need her in turn 4 and 5, like you said. Yeah. Look for the moments where your opponent thinks to themselves, I'm going to use her to kill something. Because it's deceptive. She is good, but she's not good at anything that's really offensive. It sounds like she is, but she's not, because of those 5 attacks. She hits on 2s. Let's give them benefit of the doubt. She hits all 5.
Yep.
Right? But she's strength 5, which means she's wounded most infantry on 3s, but if it's actual good infantry on 4s, right? And then that's 4 of them. And then what takes place is that you make saves and good stuff will have a 4-up invul, right? And so now you've gotten 2 through, and she's only doing 4 damage, which means she's killing 2 or 3 models usually on average. Right. If it's a character, if they spike the invuls or something, then they just beat her to death because she's a T4 with 4 wounds and a 4-up invul.
Right. So if you're using her offensively, you definitely want to pick your targets. Stay away from invul save stuff.
Yeah, invul saves she hates.
Yeah.
But even honestly,
because then you could really use that AP4 to your advantage. Like going up against basic Space Marines,
great.
She still might die in combat. She's probably going to bring down like 4 of them.
Yeah, but if you flub like 5 attacks, as I've learned with the Redemptor Dreadnought, 5 attacks is not actually enough attacks.
Yeah, I feel that.
Right? Because if you miss one, or God forbid, if you miss 2, which happens more often than you would love, right? And then you wound on 3s, so then you're like, oh, I wound you twice. And if you have an invul, then I get 1 through, I kill 1 guy, and then the rest of them just like go ham. And like she's not actually tough. So you look for the moments where your opponent thinks to themselves, I'm going to use her to kill something. And that's when you pounce.
Right. That's when you take her out.
Because all you need to do is get within the 12, and then you shoot her and charge her, and she dies.
And because she's going to be bouncing around the battlefield, she might be misplaced.
Yep.
She's going to be misplaced where you can get a deep strike.
Yep.
And get within 12 inches of her to negate her lone operatives.
Yeah.
And then all you need to do is like shoot her with 5 storm bolters and she's dead.
And a big note about her is that she doesn't actually have stealth, so she's not -1 to hit either, right? So a lot of the assassins have stealth, but she doesn't, right? I actually lost her to a grenade strat once. Someone like ran over, grenades, did 4 mortar wounds, and then charged something else. I was like, oh.
But you do have to be careful when you charge her because she has fights first.
Yes, you do have to be careful when you charge her. So don't think to yourself that you're going to charge in, kill her, and then that's it. Like she will fight you first. Right? So you want to kind of shoot her to death and be done with it that way. And once you're in the 12, it's so easy to kill her.
4 wounds, the 4-up save. Yeah, that's
who cares? And cover won't do anything because she has a 6-up save.
Right. Thank you, everyone who is joining us to review some of these assassins. I had a great time learning about some of the cool things that they can do. Steve and Ian from Hyperspace Hobbies, signing out.
Good night.